everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm Staff Sergeant Christy Verhoel of the Calgary Police Service Economic Crime Unit, and I'm joined today by Leah Brownridge from the Better Business Bureau and Tom Scott from the Alberta Community Crime Prevention Association, along with a number of other partners: Service Alberta, Bank of Canada, Electronic Recycling Association, Real Estate Council of Alberta, Alberta Motor Association, and Crime Stoppers. We have all come together today to kick off Fraud Prevention Month. Fraud is one of the fastest growing crimes across Canada and the world. Year over year, the number of reported cases of fraud is on the rise. In 2012, the Calgary Police Service received 2,881 complaints. In 2013, that number rose to 2,961. And in 2014, the number of complaints tops out at 3,052. These stats are actually exponentially larger than they appear, as they often include multiple frauds within one case file. Ultimately, we don't have a clear picture of fraud because many go unreported. Week 1 of Fraud Prevention Month focuses on identity theft and payment card fraud. In March of last year alone, nearly $440,000 worth of identity fraud was committed. That's just a snapshot of 1 month, the same month that we're trying to bring as much awareness to the problem as possible. Fraud investigations are lengthy and complex, often crossing multiple jurisdictions, both nationally and internationally. Before I turn it over to our partners, I just want to give one brief example of the impact of fraud. One example of an identity fraud case we've investigated began in the summer of 2013. It was brought to our attention that over a 3-week period, a woman applied for 3 credit cards and 4 personal lines of credit totaling $125,000. 3 of the accounts were drained completely. Upon further investigation, the young woman who was supposedly accessing these funds was determined to be a young nursing student with no criminal record or previous interaction with the police. It turned out in the past 2 years, she had moved several times around Alberta and changed addresses numerous times. She had never bothered to have her mail redirected and recalled giving out personal information to a telephone solicitor. We believe her mail was stolen, and that personal information included in bills and bank statements allowed the thieves to create fraudulent identification, which were then used to apply for numerous lines of credit. The young woman was completely unaware that her identification had been stolen and her credit tampered with, until she was contacted by police. It took her more than 6 months to straighten out her banking profile. This is just one of many examples that we hear on a daily basis. I'd now like to turn things over to Leah Brownridge from the Better Business Bureau, serving Southern Alberta and East Kootenay. Leah?
Good morning, everyone. So today we are here to talk about National Fraud Prevention Month, and I'd like to share with you what BBB's vision is, and that is something that we work towards every day, which is establishing an ethical marketplace where buyers and sellers can trust each other. And how we do that is by partnering with Calgary Police Service and with several of the other organizations that you see here today, not only to collaborate for National Fraud Prevention Month efforts, but to give the education, tools, and information to businesses, consumers, and the general public so they can become their own fraud fighters. As mentioned, the first week will be focusing on identity theft and payment card fraud. So what we're here today to do is work together to denounce substandard marketplace behavior, to create a trustworthy business community, and to set the standard for marketplace trust. At BBB, one of the marketplace trust standards that we have and follow is safeguard privacy. And that means that we are asking everyone here today, our partners and everyone who's watching, to regularly check and protect their personal information to avoid identity theft or payment card fraud or any other kind of frauds that you may find out there. The following weeks will also focus on seniors, grandparent fraud, affinity fraud. There will be a week for homeowners. There will be a week for businesses and charity frauds as well. So please join us today, this month, making every month Fraud Prevention Month to become your own fraud fighter, to protect your identity, and to make sure that your personal information is secure. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And now I'd like to introduce Tom Scott from the Alberta Community Crime Prevention Association.
Good morning. When I was originally asked to come, my executive director Lillian said it's the first week, the tag each week of Fraud Prevention Month, and this week now obviously is identity theft. Originally it was called Seniors Romance, and I thought, well, there's an event I should attend actually. We have played a leading role actually as a provincial body in promoting crime prevention over the years with our corporate partners, financial, municipal. We work with all the police services, federal and municipal across Alberta, and it's been a good experience. We're just so thankful to so many good partners involved here. And I'd just like to, on behalf of ACPA, thank everyone, the Calgary Police Service, everyone involved, all the partners here for the support in crime prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions?
If you guys have any questions for any of our speakers, they'll be happy to answer them. After that, we have other partner agencies here who are in the back that you're more than welcome to approach for any specific questions. Any questions for Staff Sergeant Verhoeven?
Well, I do have one question, and maybe anybody can answer this. Is there one key, I guess, prevention point that you might, ask the public to keep in mind when they answer the phone or find these fraudulent or potentially fraudulent emails? What should people do, or what should they look out for, or is there any kind of flags waving typically when scammers try to get in touch with them?
I think in your question, you also stated the answer, and that is prevention is key. Be aware, be suspicious, ask questions, and do your due diligence to check up and follow up anybody contacting you and requesting monies transferred, funds, personal information.
Fraud prevention is an issue with being progressive, because a lot of the time you're going to be reacting to things that have already happened. What are the police service doing to maybe get ahead of these scams?
It definitely is an issue in regards to being progressive. So in my unit specifically, and in the Calgary Police Service, and I know with many of our partners as well, education for those investigators is key. So trying to get ahead of trends, figuring out what those trends are, looking to identify the knowledge base that we need in order to investigate the up and coming trends. And, belonging to partnerships is one of the keys for us as well, and that is about being able to share stories and trends across partnerships within our financial community and within the crime prevention community.
What are some examples of those trends that you're seeing right now, or maybe you're anticipating for 2013?
I don't want to give too much away for the rest of the month. This week we are focusing on identity theft and payment card fraud, and I will say I'm fairly new to the economic crime unit, and my head has been spinning in relation to the types of frauds that come in, and identity theft definitely is one of them that is on the rise. Cyber type of fraud is also something that we're trying to play catch up to, as you had said previously. So figuring out what those trends online are and being able to investigate those and stay ahead of those. So I would say those are two that are definitely on the rise.
And why do you think there is an increase? Like, are criminals getting more sophisticated, or people are just getting, they don't pay attention to it? Like, why is the noticeable increase over the few years?
You know what, I think for a long time fraud has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. While we're aware that there is fraud that's happening, it's easy for the bad guys to perpetrate, so they've taken different things that they've done in the past and reproduced them, but they're also changing and using the internet and changing with technology, and there are a lot of really smart criminals out there nowadays, unfortunately.
Payment card fraud, other than covering up the pad when we're entering our password, what can we do to protect ourselves there?
Yeah, changing your PIN on a regular basis is super important for protecting your identity in relation to your bank cards and payment cards. Covering the PIN pad up is another one. Making sure that you're checking your banking statement on a regular basis, and that if there's anything suspicious that you are reporting it. As I stated previously, fraud typically goes underreported. So, you know what, it's not something to be ashamed of. Make sure you report it to the Calgary Police Service, Crime Stoppers, or the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre.
We always hear about skimming at gas stations and gas pumps and things like that. Is there anything physical people can look for to think maybe this is off a little bit?
Yeah, you bet. We have some examples actually down on the table in front of us. So it's something called an overlay that fits over top of where you would normally put in your card. So give it a jiggle, give it a pull. It would often come off very easily.
You mentioned these are underreported and not to be ashamed. Why is it that people feel ashamed or don't report them?
Often what we find is a lot of the victims are losing a lot of money, and you know, to tell that to family and friends is a little bit embarrassing for them. And one of the messages we want to get out there is that you're a victim of crime just like anybody else. You shouldn't be ashamed of it, and you should come forward with that.
Are you suggesting then that if we get these fishy phone calls from somewhere on the other side of the globe asking you for permission to log into your computer, that we hang up and call police?
What I'm suggesting is get as much information as possible when you get a fishy phone call or an email. Report it. If you have not lost any money, report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre actually works with municipalities, police agencies across Canada and tracks trends. And if there's something that's popping up in an area, for instance, let's say in Calgary, we're getting a large number of CRA frauds happening. If that happens, they'll alert us, and we can start investigations that way if we weren't already aware of it.
Can you give us a hint as to what other types of frauds we will be hearing about in the coming weeks?
Yeah, you bet. In week 2, we're going to be focusing on scams and frauds that target seniors. In week 3, we are going to be focusing on homeowners, so things like real estate, mortgage fraud, and renovation fraud. And then in week 4, we are focusing on internet, cybercrime, and sort of the catch-all for anything else. We have many different events planned throughout the month as well, so if you're interested in coming down to any of those events, please feel free to come out. All of the partners, as I said previously, have been very gracious throughout the planning stages for this, and everybody is very motivated because prevention is the key.
What about giving yourself a credit check? You know, you can check your credit score and all that kind of stuff. Is that something else to think about?
Yeah, you bet. Checking your credit score is something that we recommend you do at least once a year. You can do that through several different companies. Important just to see, you know, what scores you're getting. Are you defaulting on loans you didn't have? Those types of things. So definitely check your credit scores.